Welcome to the latest edition of Kernels from the Cornfield. No us, no alts, no shucks. News with a dash of commentary to spice up your fare for Thursday, January 15th, 2015. Belgium raid terrorist dens. Belgium security forces spread out across the nation to the north of France today, hauling in a number of terrorist suspects. In one raid in the city of Hervé, 3 terrorists came out guns blazing. 2 terrorists were killed. The third is now in custody. These 3 had recently returned from Syria, where they fought alongside the Islamic State. Belgium officials stated that major imminent attacks were thwarted. Ties to the terrorists that launched attacks in France last week are being researched in Belgium, but seem unrelated. What is known is that the Islamic State jihadists who killed 4 hostages at a kosher grocery had taken out a $10,000 loan in Belgium and sold his vehicle to a guns dealer in that country who is now in custody. 6 other suspects, including a 4th gunman in last week's attacks, are being sought by French authorities. The gunman is thought to have escaped the country and may now be in Syria. Linebacker will miss game. Across the Cornfield, fans are in shock after the arrest of Josh McNary, the Indianapolis Colts backup linebacker on a charge of felony rape. McNary is alleged to have raped a 29-year-old woman he picked up at a bar on December 1st. He is also charged with criminal confinement and battery resulting in bodily injury. Both the Colts and the NFL are investigating. McNary will not be on the bench for Sunday's big game against the New England Patriots. El Capitan scaled. Tommy Caldwell and Keene Jorgensen completed their free climb of Yosemite National Park's 3,000-foot vertical wall, El Capitan, on their 19th day, making history. The bears slept in hammocks as they scaled the daunting face of the cliff. Several times, one or the other fell, caught by their harness ropes, as they reached for cracks to pull themselves up Dawn's wall. Hats off for the daring and successful climb. Cuba restrictions relaxed. Restrictions on travel to Cuba were relaxed today following President Barack Obama's historic announcement of normalizing relations late last month. Travel to Cuba will be allowed for travel for educational purposes and a few other reasons. The amount of money that can be sent home by Cuban Americans to family on the island nation will be increased. Financial institutions can open accounts with Cuban financial institutions. Some imports from Cuba will now be allowed. A complete rollback of restrictions would require an act of Congress. At this time, that doesn't seem to be forthcoming anytime soon. Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio, whose parents were born in Cuba, called the move a gift to the Castros. Case of hypocrisy? French authorities are being accused of being hypocrites when it comes to free speech. At issue seems to be some speech is okay, but other speech is not. A French comedian who's been arrested many times for incorrect, offending, or unflattering speech or gestures was arrested again yesterday for comments now deleted, posted on Facebook. French law enforcement are being accused of cherry picking what is protected speech and what is offensive, as if the Charlie Hebdo cartoons are not offensive to millions and should be protected, but those who criticize the cartoons are guilty of hate speech. If so, this is not right. Hate speech, anti-Semitism speech, and Holocaust denial speech are punishable in France, as is condoning or praising acts of terrorism. I understand the logic in those cases, but arresting a comedian for being a comedian, which is in the same vein as the satirical vein and take of the cartoonist, seems off and wrong from where I sit in the cornfield. Boko Haram continues pillage, like cattle stampeding, trampling, and destroying everything in their path. Or swarms of locusts devastating croplands. Boko Haram, the Nigerian terror group, continues to pillage, rape, kill, and raze town after town in northeastern Nigeria. The Nigerian army is underpaid and not sufficiently equipped to halt the onslaught. Civilian leaders, fearful of a strong military, keep the soldiers in a weakened position. By doing so, the Nigerian government is complicit with the killing, raping, and destruction of its citizens and cities. Where is the outcry from the rest of the nations? Roadblock. Looks like the Republican march to curtail the president's executive actions on immigration may have hit a roadblock in the U.S. Senate. While the House of Representatives passed a measure to fund the Department of Homeland Security and defund the immigration actions of the president, it appears getting the votes in the Senate may not happen. GOP senators need 6 Democratic senators to join them to reach the 60 votes needed to pass the bill. Target retreats. Retail giant Target is closing operations in Canada. The store's expansion into the international market has not gone the way it had hoped. Notable quote: Independent Senator Angus Keane of Maine told CNN that the most dangerous threat to the nation's security is unemployed 22-year-olds who are drawn in by the pitch from radical extremists. Kerry in France, after the failure of any recognizable U.S. officials to attend this past Sunday's Unity March in France, Secretary of State John Kerry has traveled to the country, which continues to reel from dual terrorist attacks last week. Kerry said earlier today he wants to give France a big hug. That's what caught my attention for Wednesday, January 15th. That is, for Thursday, January 15th, 2015. Tune in tomorrow for another episode of Kernels from the Cornfield. I am Mark Ivy. Good evening.